Last week, the Federal Advisory Committee on National Climate Assessment released a draft report that outlined the potential impacts of climate change across the United States. The draft report summarized and referenced hundreds of published research articles in an attempt to provide an overview of climate change in the years to come. The overall driver of climate change is the amplification of the greenhouse effect due to increased human emissions. Particularly, the carbon dioxide levels are higher than they have ever been. The report concluded that globally, sea levels projected to rise between 1 and 4 feet by the beginning of the 22nd century. Nationally, temperatures are expected to rise between 2 and 4 degrees during the next few decades. More locally, it was concluded that the Northeast will increasingly face challenges from heat waves, coastal flooding, and river flooding. These impacts have numerous consequences for our coastal and marine ecosystems. Professor of Oceanography at Penn State, Dr. Raymond Najjar, joins us to explain what these consequences may be.
Climate change is already happening,
right.
and the greenhouse effect and enhanced greenhouse effect is already happening, and land areas are warming up more than ocean areas, and we'll continue to see that pattern. The Chesapeake is warming at a rate that's very similar to the air temperature of the air temperature change in the mid-Atlantic region. Whereas, if you go out into the middle of the Atlantic or the middle of an ocean basin, the temperature trends there tend to be smaller, on average than they are in coastal areas. The other important point is that these areas are also under other stresses, and estuaries are experiencing eutrophication. This is the process of excessive productivity, excessive algal blooms, because of the enhanced delivery of nitrogen to coastal areas from a variety of human activities. And so these are still significant problems in many areas of the United States, many coastal areas of the United States, and they ultimately lead to depletion of oxygen in the bottom waters, where fish and other fauna are trying to eke out a living. There are all these interactions, and the food web is very complex, and it's, if you push it in this direction in one place, you're going to very likely see an impact in another place that you wouldn't have expected to see a response. For example, one positive impact might be in the Chesapeake, that the blue crab fishery could do better, because very cold winters can really knock down the blue crab fishery, so there'll be sort of more survival. This overwintering issue affects bad things as well, like diseases for oysters. And oyster disease is a big problem in the Chesapeake and Delaware and many estuaries along the East Coast. And the parasites that prey on the oysters are overwintering better and are becoming more harmful as a result. There's no debate about whether the oceans are getting more acidic. It's very straightforward chemistry. When you add carbon dioxide to water, it forms an acid, and that lowers the pH. When the pH goes down, it's harder for calcifying organisms to build their skeletons, their shells.
Here in State College, Penn State has vowed to convert the coal plant behind me into natural gas powered by 2014. This is a step to reduce their overall emissions and ultimately reduce their carbon footprint. The report identifies that these types of local efforts are important, however federal action is required to successfully maintain and reduce emission rates. During the most recent State of the Union, President Obama stated, "We must do more to combat climate change." The President also urged that Congress should pursue a bipartisan, market-based solution to climate change. He insisted that if they didn't, he would take the executive action. The scientists on the Federal Advisory Committee certainly hope that something will be done over the next 4 years on a national scale. For Up in the Air, I'm Dakota Smith.